Welcome to the Ryan Holtz Show. On this show, you can expect the latest, the greatest, and the best curated content on business, marketing, automotive, and lifestyle. Sit back, put in your earplugs, and let's enjoy the ride. Now, as always, I want to make sure you get the best in content that will help you monster your goals, both personally and professionally. I want to keep this conversation going, so please check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope at Ryan Holtz 1. And then go over to facebook.com/Ryan Holtz Marketing, and we can chat there too. I also want you to visit www.ryanholtz.ca, as this will be where I put my almighty beloved show notes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am proud to bring you the Ryan Holtz Show. Let the beat drop and enjoy. What's up, what's up, what's up? Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Ryan Holtz Show. Today we're going to be talking about personal branding, maybe getting that JOB that you want, but then also understanding that JOB might not be as secure as you really think it is. So at the end of the day, you have you have your family, and you have you, which personal branding plays a strategic role in that. So by definition, out of Wikipedia, personal branding is the practice of people marketing themselves and their careers as brands. Personal branding is essentially the ongoing process of establishing a prescribed image or impression in the mind of others about an individual, group, or organization. Also known as who the heck are you? What the heck do you do? And furthermore, what makes you stand out? And I think the first step to understanding what your personal brand is, or furthermore, understanding how other people are branding themselves, is the practice of understanding human nature. Human nature cannot be classified by boxes, smoothness, efficiency. People by nature are emotional creatures, and they understand feelings more than they understand inanimate objects or measuring parameters. Personal branding is about connecting with the human psyche, demonstrating your ability to connect with those on your social network, and creating confidence in yourself or become somebody else's confidant. So, personal branding. This is kind of two buzzwords that I think are overcomplicated and have been, kind of shone upon as being complex. They're really not. Your personal brand is already there. I mean, you're you. And as you're listening to this podcast, you're thinking, well, geez, I don't know what my brand is. I don't know what my gimmick is. I don't know, and if you start going down that path and you're saying words like gimmick, that's not what a personal brand is. Personal brand is completely you, and it's being natural, but it's being self-aware, and self-awareness is the key to everything. Some people are quiet. Some people are loud and boisterous. Some people are in the middle. Some people are confident. Some people are not confident. And I think it's really just about establishing who you are and what your brand is. Image is everything, for sure. I think that in 2016, perception's reality. That's why we're focusing on the almighty Instagram shots and making sure that, everything is just perfect. We have a whole bunch of apps to make your face look a little better, your skin look a little better. And sometimes by the time you're done filtering those bloody Instagram pictures, you don't even look like you. And that is not a suggested tactic when trying to get a personal brand. Because if I meet you in person and you look completely different, it's going to kind of weird me out. It's like when I was single and dating, you look at all these pictures and stuff like that, and then you meet and you're like, who the heck is this person? And I think that we have to maintain that level of transparency both online and offline. So, brings me to a couple things. Why do we want a personal brand? Why do we want to focus on that? I mean, we want to be good little citizens and go to work and do that 9 to 5, right? And why should we have to worry about that? And maybe it's because I am an entrepreneur and, I am my own boss, but, I have worked at a job before. And what I found was, you in some cases are an employee number. And if you decide to leave, well, you leave with whatever money you made. And if the company decides to restructure or reorganize or anything, I mean, well, they're just going to give you a little severance package and say, thanks so much for your service. I don't even know if they're still giving out the watches anymore. So you're not even getting the watch, the 25-year watch or 10-year watch or however that works. But I'll tell you right now, in 2016, I'm creating my own watch. You know what I mean? And there's a level of nobility to that. I think it takes a lot of risk. I think it takes a lot of confidence, and I think it takes a lot of resilience to really be your own boss and be an entrepreneur and go through the ups and downs and challenges that will present themselves to you. And then remember, you still got to live life, and you still have family and children and things like that. So you're always kind of navigating through anything that's kind of getting thrown at you. But I think with simplicity, steely-eyed focus, you can get through anything. So I think for everybody that's listening to this podcast right now, if you are on the way to work or you're considering changing your place of employment, you should really start thinking about personal branding. So I'm going to give you a couple tips on how you can get started on checking out your personal brand. There is a cheat sheet that I have created, and it's just a PDF. It's like a 10-step PDF on kind of like a not a personality test, but basically just reading the different attributes of a personal brand and a human, and then basically kind of, filling in the blanks to how you relate to those. So if you'd like access to that, email me info@ryanholtz.ca, and I'd be more than happy to email it off to you, because it's kind of a nice little starting point to try to figure out, what is your personal brand. But number 1 and 107 and 8 and 9, where we're going to start on this is it's about effective communication. So step 1 is effective communication. I always say that when I go out and speak, and we're trying to market a product or service to somebody for a client, the first thing we got to figure out is who is the customer, who is the client, what is our service and product, but furthermore, how does the client or the customer like to communicate? And if somebody, if a client or customer messages you on Facebook and then you pick up the phone and try to call them, I don't think you're really listening to the proper context of the client, because they message you on Facebook. They clearly don't want you to call them. I mean, it's like my one slide says, it's, don't, effing call me, because I don't think we use our phones to talk verbally anymore. I think it's texting. I think it's emailing. I think it's, Snapchatting, Instagramming, Facebooking, Vibering, WhatsApping. I mean, there's so many different message platforms that we're using that I don't think we actually talk on the phone verbally anymore. So figure out how they like to communicate and figure out what your strength is at communicating. If you're somebody who is shy or maybe not so good on the phone, try to quarterback and maneuver yourself to put yourself in a place where you feel the most comfortable when communicating. And one of the key human interaction medium is communication, whether it be verbal, visual, or physical. How you perceive and what you project communicate distinctive messages about your personal brand, and we really have to realize that. Next tip, curate with interesting content. What I mean by curating with interesting content is think about content production as either you're a DJ or you're a producer. Now, some DJs in the world, I mean, they're getting paid mega bucks to literally take old tracks that were already written and produced years, decades ago, sometimes centuries ago, and remix them and put their own spin on it. And I don't think that everybody has to be some content producer. I think that you just have to find out, the best pieces of content out there, clean it all up, and then present it to your audience. And, it's amazing that when you put your own spin on things, how people kind of say, hey, I didn't even like that song before, but once that person, remixed it, I'm kind of digging that song. I'm kind of feeling that song right now. And I think that you really got to think about how are you going to DJ your content? And are you going to curate? Are you going to create? And if you're not going to create content, that's perfectly fine, but find some good content and push it out. Right now, I got my office dog, Uma, in here, and she's looking at me saying, Daddy, what are you doing right now? I want to go for my walk. And I'm saying, hey, I got to do this podcast right now. And I'm having fun with it. I'm committed to this. So curate with interesting content, okay? When and why personal branding is so important is you really are your resume and you really are your own equity. And you really got to say, with my personal brand, what is my value proposition? And if you are looking for that next job, really look at what they're looking for in the job description, because, just think not too long ago, if we were ever to be on our phones using Facebook, hell, they didn't even allow Facebook in certain places of employment. They blocked it off. The network, administrator would block it up because they felt like you weren't being, they felt like you weren't being productive. And now, some job descriptions are saying, well, how many friends do you have on Facebook? How many followers do you have on Twitter? What's your LinkedIn reach? And what's your clout score? Because, we want people in our organization that are social and that are out there, because they're smart. They want to get their brand and they want to get their messaging out there. And it all starts with the team at the company. And I think that, you really have to say, how do I position into that team or that company? And first and foremost, that's something you really got to think about and you really got to consider. So ask yourself this question: how do I fit into this job title, and what makes me unique and different, next to the next candidate that's coming across the desk? If I'm applying for a job and you're sending out a resume, whoa, personal branding? Your brand is in a piece of paper? Really? I mean, you can find out who that person is. LinkedIn, you can find out Facebook, you can find out Twitter, all these different resources now. And I think that, you gotta reach out to the person who's hiring and say, look at me, here's what I do, and here's why I can fill this position better than the next person. So again, that personal brand, okay? Another tip: monitor and grow. I mean, when you're doing all these different things to establish your personal brand, personal branding is not as easy as it seems. It takes time to cultivate and grow. How you continuously keep in touch with your audience, respond to them, and keep them engaged and maintain that personal touch is the key to success in this game. So personal branding, again, goes back to you just being you, figuring out who your audience is, and figuring out the best form of communication. When I had a job and I was sitting there and I was marketing the company, I really cared about the company, but I knew I really had to brand myself, because I want to say, Ryan, what is your personal brand, and what does that look like? And I think that it was extremely important that for me, I had to really understand what my role was, what the company's role was, and furthermore, how I can brand myself, but also brand the company. And I think that in 2016, people really want to talk to people and they don't want to talk to corporations or companies. And I think that it's extremely important to understand that. So, let's talk about it. So, for instance, when I was in the automotive dealership, I did some really cool things, but I branded myself. I created a blog. I started writing little articles, things that I noticed in the dealership, things that I noticed customers asking, maybe some issues that I noticed that always used to come up, things that I really felt could be a benefit to people who are reading my blog. And my blog did become kind of my online storefront, and it became that before I even left the dealership. And it basically kind of, helped me as I left the dealership and then progressed and transitioned into my own company. And 3 years later, I've spoke all over North America. I've been featured in, over 50 major publications in print. I've been on TV channels, been featured in other people's blogs. I've been blessed to do workshops at provincial associations. I've been blessed with great clients and large clients. And I really have all that to really hand over and give thanks to personal branding for that. And my business card, that's a sock. I do like socks. But again, as I'm talking into this podcast, I'm just thinking about everybody who's out there that's saying, I want something different. I want to do something different, and I just don't know where to start. And I know you've listened to several other podcasts, read tons of books, and everybody says just start, but it really is that, And I'll give you a quote: do not let perfection hinder you, but intent is everything, meaning don't wait for the book to be perfect. Don't wait for anything to be perfect. This is my second episode of my podcast. And, if you listen to the intro, prior to this episode, which is my episode 1, I said, I'm busy, but was I procrastinating on the podcast? Maybe I wanted to make sure everything is perfect. And I know that people are going to give their reviews when they hear this right now, and not everybody's going to love it. Some people are going to give some, maybe harsh constructive criticism. But at the end of the day, I'm doing it. I'm doing it right now. And I know that on episode 20, it's probably going to be a lot better than episode 2 because I'm going to put in the work and I'm doing it. It's just like blogging. I mean, if you go to my blog right now, there's great content, and I suggest you do go to it. But look at my grammar. Grammar's terrible. I can barely spell some things. And I know people are like, they're taking in this. I know because I got thousands of subscribers, so every time I write a blog, it's going into people's inbox. And I'm getting tons of feedback from people saying, thanks for sharing the content, love this perspective. And I know they're probably like, holy smokes, this guy can't even write, but he's writing. How the heck does that even work? Because I'm like, my head is huge in the sense of physical, and I'm like, I got all this knowledge inside. I need to get it out. So I started blogging, and now I feel like podcasting is the next platform. So what are physical, tangible attributes to personal branding? Well, number one is, if you really look at it, the number one thing is just you. I mean, when you show up somewhere, how do you look? How are you dressed? What are you saying? Just literally off somebody looking at you would be, the number one thing. Let me have a sip of my coffee here. Number 2, your business card, your website, your blog, your podcast, anything that you're doing over and above to really demonstrate to the general population who you are, or giving them a glimpse, your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your Snapchat. These are all elements of physical, tangible things to a personal brand. And, let it be known people are watching. And again, going back to the first episode I did, I mean, I said, literally, I think less than 10% of internet users, people who have an internet, have a phone, have some sort of connection to online, less than 10% of everybody is generating over 90% of the content, which means, you got 90% of people just watching. So just know that people are watching and they're listening and they're taking in information. So one thing I've constantly heard and I've constantly preached when I'm giving my digital marketing presentations or my keynotes is that everybody learns differently. Some people love to listen. Some people love to see. Some people love to read. So if you have a piece of content, if you can distribute it, through several different platforms, your audience is going to go up, because people that are reading my blog might not necessarily want to listen to my podcast, but people that, listen to the podcast might hate reading. So I want to make sure I get you on some avenues. So I'm going to have a podcast so you can listen to that. I have the blog, which you can read that. So again, it's all personal branding. And with Google and Yahoo and search, I think that, you don't want to cheat the game. I mean, everybody, pay-per-click, you can do the pay-per-click game. But again, when you go on a date with somebody, do you want to pay for the date? Or do you want the date to be holistic and organic? When I come up in the search results, I want it to be organic. I want it to be because somebody went in and searched something, and Google felt or search felt that I had the answer, and that they presented me to them, because now the relationship is going to be that much better because it's inbound, it's holistic, it's normal, it's organic, and I didn't annoy them. Okay, so the personal brand is not designed to be annoying. The personal brand is designed to connect with your audience, but give them a little more than just, hi, my name is Ryan Holtz, and today I'm doing the Ryan Holtz Show. Boring. Hell no. Hell no. And anybody who's heard me speak, I say the same thing. You can put lipstick on a cow, but it's still a freaking cow. Okay, so we got to think about that. We have to establish that. Okay, again, as you're listening here, ask yourself, who am I? Be honest with it. Be true. Be you, and be yourself. Here's where personal branding affects your life. Okay, you ready for this? When you got married or you got your significant other, you better be sure that your significant other recognize your brand, okay? There is something about you that they like. That's why you're with them, okay? That's a personal brand. Okay. When you apply for a job and you put in your resume and you go there and you dress up or whatever the work attire is at the environment, and the person who's in charge of hiring sits down, comes out, introduces, you better be known that in the first 5 seconds, they're staring you up and down because that's your personal brand. Okay. When you know, go to prenatal classes, if you're having a child, me and my wife just attended some prenatal classes a few weeks ago. You better be sure that your personal brand is walking in the room. Everybody's like, okay, well, look at those parents. Look at those parents. Look at those parents. Okay. We are visual people as humans, which means that personal branding is everywhere. So why should you do a personal brand? Why should you not do a personal brand? It's everywhere. So I want to know your feedback. I want to know your comments. I want to know what you're fearful of. And I want to know, I guess, what you think your personal brand is, okay? Again, send me an email, info@ryanholtz.ca. And I'm going to keep this episode relatively brief because I just want you to think about personal branding. And I'm going to do a ton more episodes on this subject because it is so prevalent. And I think that, with the internet coming, and being a part of our lives the way it is. And remember, we're in a cultural shift right now. I mean, this is exciting. I mean, you literally are a couple swipes and a couple touches on your phone to whoever you want to communicate with. And the only thing they really can take from the interaction is your personal brand. So I think that this is going to become a part of everything. I think that babies in the womb right now have a cell phone and they're thinking about the personal brand when they come out of mom. Okay? It's everywhere. So again, I want you to follow me. There's no outro to the show. There's only that intro. So I'm going to do the outro at the end of every episode. So today, again, we talked about personal branding. I did say that I do have a PDF cheat sheet. Email info@ryanholtz.ca to get it. I'll be more than happy to send it off. And I want you to go to Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat @RyanHoltz1 and tell me what you think about personal branding and what are you doing to personally brand yourself. And I want to know what you do for a living. This is a two-way show, an open door policy. The conversation is for you. It's for us. I'm not talking at you. I'm talking with you. We are going to have a round table. And even though, I'm in my office right now at my table with a glass of coffee and I can't see you, I know you're there and I appreciate you listening. This has been episode 2, Personal Branding, The Ryan Holtz Show. We over and out. Boom.